Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. First of all, let me thank you all for coming tonight. And I will tell you that this speech is probably going to be somewhere a little less than 40 minutes, just so you know what's coming. I want to welcome everyone here tonight. Welcome to my fellow council members, to our city staff seated over there and up on the dais as well. Other elected officials, I see Chairwoman Brenda Howerton of the Durham County Commissioners, and I'm not sure that I see anyone else. If there are other elected officials, if you would stand and be recognized at this time. There's our sheriff, our Representative Senator Mike Woodard, and I believe we also have Valerie Fouché here from Orange County, and our Chief District Court Judge, Pat Evans. Most importantly, I want to welcome all of the residents of the Bull City here in person and at home. Welcome to my first State of the City address. The day I filed for office, I spoke about my paternal grandmother, Cora O'Neill, who was a quilter, and she taught the neighborhood girls on the West End how to quilt. She was known to collect bags full of scrap material. Each scrap was different. Not one looked exactly the same. They consisted of assorted colors and patterns, and they were from various garments. You know, she used towels, bedspreads, curtains, just about anything that she could find that was made of material. And she patiently and painstakingly taught us how to stitch them together to make warm and beautiful quilts. And I have one at my home, and it covers me at night. And it inspires me by day to believe that we can each connect here in Durham to make a quilt that covers all of Durham with safe neighborhoods, stable housing, well-paying jobs, and quality schools. We can do that. I have been mayor now for just over about 3 months, still a baby mayor. And although there are many challenges ahead, I can confidently say that the state of our city is good. The state of our city is good and getting better each day. In my short time in office, I am more optimistic that now is the time that we must take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity presented to us on the heels of the worst pandemic that we've seen in more than 100 years, to use federal funding as a catalyst to take Durham to the next level, a level in which Durham becomes a stronger, more vibrant, and equitable community. We have a unique opportunity to transform this city through innovative solutions that build strong communities. I'm going to talk a little bit about our city operations. You know, I have been humbled and immensely pleased and overwhelmed by the dedication and work of our city's employees. I have met many of them over the past 3 months, but first and foremost, I have to acknowledge our city manager, Wanda Page, if you will stand. Wanda and her leadership team, consisting of Deputy Chief Managers Keith Chadwell, if you will stand, Mr. Bo Ferguson, Ms. Bertha Johnson, and Chief of Staff Kamisha Wallace, who cares for me. They do much of the heavy lifting of the city's operations. And when I tell you they are generally in City Hall at all times of the day, and all times of night, and all across the city, they work really hard. And they each lead teams of hundreds of dedicated city staff across 29 departments devoted daily to the service of our residents. Take a look at the City of Durham website, and there you will see them listed. But I do want to just call a couple of names, because some of these departments I never heard of before becoming mayor. The Audit Services, the Budget and Management Services Department, Water Management, Neighborhood Improvement Services, City Planning, Fleet Management, Solid Waste Management, over 2,000 employees strong. City employees are both the life force and the backbone of any city. We must continue to prioritize that our employees are well compensated, treated fairly, and with the utmost respect. Thank you again to all of our city employees. I would also be remiss if I didn't recognize this young lady standing over here holding the computer that's working the slides. That's Miss Amber Wade, my left hand, because I'm left-handed, my left hand, my assistant, a true asset to me and our city. I would also like to recognize our city attorney, Attorney Ken Rayburg. He's back with us. And the lady that I call my teacher, who has taught me how to run these meetings, our city clerk, is Diana Schreiber. They provide legal, administrative, and procedural guidance to our entire city council. And I'd also like to acknowledge Ms. Beverly Thompson and her communications team, the baddest in the land. A huge thank you for your support. And our newest member of the mayor's office, my part-time extern, Ms. Danielle Nolan. Please stand, Danielle. She's a Durhamite and works for Duke. Now, those of you here in the audience and those watching at home, please join me in one more rousing applause to all of our outstanding city employees. Now, I have to recognize the people who work closely with me on the council. We have Mayor Pro Tem Mark Middleton. He is traveling, and he should watch us. Mark again, hey out there. Our councilwomen, Javier Caballero, Deidreana Freeman, Jillian Johnson, and the big man, Leonardo Williams. You know, the six of us, we don't think alike, right? But nor should we. Nor should we. Our democracy requires diverse opinions. I thank each of them for their dedication to our city. No one outside of these six folk knows the road that we trod together. But I have watched each person's work ethic and dedication, and I'll tell you without hesitancy at all that Durham is well served by these folks. I applaud them for their work, and I thank them for their expertise, their knowledge, and their caring for our beloved city. I assure you that no decision that we make is reached without a deep dive into complex issues. We have approached complex issues with a determination to do the right thing, the just thing, and the best thing for that particular situation. I assure you that we make decisions to the extent humanly possible in the best interest of all Durham residents, all Durham residents. I want to thank former Councilman Charlie Reese for his dedicated service these past 7 years to our city. His departure leaves a vacancy that the council will be seeking to fill. We've had 21 individuals who have expressed their interest in embarking upon public service by submitting their applications for consideration for this vacant seat. We thank them for that. Holding public office is serious business, and I'm grateful that we have a strong pool of candidates from which to select. We intend to choose an applicant who will represent the interests of all Durham residents. Tonight, I will talk about a few things I think needed to move our city forward: safe neighborhoods, shared economic prosperity, affordable housing, infrastructure, public health, COVID-19, and an inclusive and welcoming city. Let's start with safe neighborhoods. Before taking office, I told Durham, my hometown, that one of my highest priorities was working towards creating a safe city and safe neighborhoods for all of us. Our city is in crisis, and gun violence is taking the lives of far too many of our residents and our young black men. Over these past few months since I have taken office, gun violence has marched towards a seemingly new levels of violence and chaos. Just this past week, we've seen 6 deaths. First, I want to express my deep sympathies to those families here in Durham whose loved ones were stolen from them by gun violence. As the leader of our city and as a mother, I am grieving with you. I also want to recognize the citywide trauma that our residents are feeling. We are a city in pain, and we are struggling to make sense of the violence we continue to witness. I want to say to all families who are hurting today and have experienced violence, including my own, that we see you, we hear you, and we commit to doing everything necessary to combat this unnatural state of affairs. Let us pause for a moment of silence in remembrance of those we have lost and those families. Thank you. Every child, every child, every child, every family, every person in Durham deserves to feel and be safe. You know, some of our neighbors have been living in parts of our city where gun violence has become part of their everyday lives. Part of their everyday lives. They hear it every night. Mothers keeping their young children inside, even during daylight hours. Living in fear is not a Bull City value. Like the recent ones across our city, though, you know, the tragedies are reminders that gun violence knows no bounds. Sadly, we know that gun violence is a distinctly American tragedy. an epidemic we see playing out in nearly every city and every town in every state. We know from decades of evidence that preventing this specific form of violence requires clear and coordinated solutions from community organizations, law enforcement, healthcare facilities, housing support, business owners, educators, government, faith communities, parents, families, everybody, everyone. There is no one solution, but there is one path to prevention, which means we work together, each of us doing our part. I want you to listen as I offer an explanation of what the roles of the various parts of the government play, what each is sort of charged to do, because we get a little confused about who's in charge of what sometimes. And I know that I didn't know a lot of it until I became mayor. So this board, the city council, is a policy-making board. We have 3 hires: our clerk, our attorney, and our city manager. The city manager, Ms. Page and her able team, they manage the day-to-day operations of the city. They keep it going, right? They make sure your trash is picked up, your streets are paved, your water is clean. And did you know, by the way, that Durham has the best tasting water in the state of North Carolina? That's what I've been told. Did you know that? Did you know that? And I could go on and on about the accolades. But they keep it rolling. The city, someone told me as I was on the campaign trail that the city, they said, Elaine, remember, the city is brick and mortar. Chairwoman Brenda Houghton and her team of commissioners are human services. So we make sure that trash is picked up and streets clean. We partner with the county on a lot of things, including planning. But our able and fearless leader, the chair of our Board of County Commissioners and her historic board, they're in charge of the Department of Social Services, mental health, your libraries. They help fund the jail. They fund the schools. So just to give you an idea, and we're going to start to try to explain how government is set up a little bit more from our perspective, because there is some misunderstanding. Now, let me tell y'all, the mayor nor the council can put folk in jail or set bonds. We can't do that. I get a lot of folks saying, you need to put folk in jail, you need to do with their bond. That's not us. Now, the police and the sheriff, they work together to patrol our streets and investigate crimes. The sheriff is the elected sheriff, right? He has jurisdiction county-wide. Our chief is supervised by our city manager who makes that hire. She has jurisdiction in the city. But those 2 law enforcement officers both work in Durham together, and they have an understanding of how they work together. And that follows pretty much how law enforcement runs. Now, there is a place that I'm intimately familiar with, another branch of government, that is responsible for carrying out the mandates of the criminal law. That doesn't happen in City Hall. That occurs in Chief District Court Judge's building and Superior Court Judge Orlando Hudson, our senior resident. That's the courthouse. That is the epicenter of the jurisdiction of criminal behavior and the consequences thereof. That means that's where your criminal laws are meted out. That's where the punishment, that's where the trials occur, that's where that action happens. Now, it is the responsibility of the city government to address issues concerning how people live life. Making sure that all people have access to affordable housing is something we should and are looking at. Safe neighborhoods, clean streets, clean water. We need to make sure that we provide recreational activity opportunities. Make sure that our businesses are strong, and make sure our city is a place where businesses want to come so that our residents can get great jobs and provide for their families. It's the city government's responsibility to allow our residents to have great options for making a great life, living in a great neighborhood, having a great job, or running a great business. So that picking up a gun as a tool of your trade becomes a choice one does not have to make. Now, my interactions with the young men in this city, some of the young men in this city, and I call them young because I done turned 60 years old at this point, has come under scrutiny. It pains me to think that we should not talk or interact with these young men and get their perspective on Durham and have them be a part of the solution. Now, I was invited to the table to meet with two groups of young men several months before I was elected. Now, there have been elected officials and community service members in the trenches long before I ran for mayor, working with these young men and other young men. Chief District Court Judge Pat Evans, our Sheriff Clarence Burkhead, Councilwoman DeJarana Freeman, along with Dennis Garrett of Love and Respect. Jackie Wagstaff was there, Montina Dunsford, the former Chief of Police Steve Chalmers, Harold Chestnut, Faye and Melvin Simmons. They own the Backyard Barbecue, in case y'all want to know about that. And others, they've been working in the streets for years. They were out there. And so it was timing. And they invited me to a meeting to see what I had been missing, because I had been the dean for a while. You know, I was close up and personal when I was a judge, but I was gone for about 2.5 years as the dean. So I pretty much lost my connection. Now, I ain't never lost my street cred, but I lost my connections a little bit. So I was invited to a meeting by Judge Pat and Sheriff, and we went out to catch up. And some of these young people I knew, and others I did not. But what they all possessed was the desire to give back. Various folk were at that meeting, from those recently released from prison to those who had changed their lives and were now business owners. All shared a common goal of helping our community to heal. Some needed housing and jobs. Others needed a door to open for their expanding businesses. You know, some needed the opportunity to be able to rent or buy a home without having the felon status stop their process. My job was to listen, gain trust, help to provide those opportunities for housing, employment, so they would, in turn, help us to implement a ceasefire between organizations. And I don't call folk gangs. They're not UFOs or aliens. They are our sons and our daughters. So they wanted to help us to begin to help other people transition out of street life. Well, I have invited these young men, some of them, here tonight, because everybody's been wanting to know. So I asked them to stand up. Let them see you. Turn around. Dennis, if you will call their names. Call their names.
This is Dennis Gary Jr. I am our youth ambassador. This is two guys on the New York team. We don't give you his real name. He's the captain of the team.
Mayor O'Neill, can you give this to him, please?
You got Monte, McDougal, you got Thomas, you got y'all guys call this guy Flu. But if you want some entertainment, one of the like entertainment, right? Then you got Mike. Now Mike is cut from a whole different cloth. Not only is Mike outspoken, but he come from prison and started his own business. He has a nonprofit till we help adolescents and troubled youth. And he does a lot of hiring. He's the manager of local hotels, and he does some wonderful things. And we cannot exclude Donald. You know, now this ain't a public political forum, but Donald is running for city school board, right? We need him. And then we got our gentleman standing up. That's our new member of the crew. That's Fred. Now Fred came to us through Flu, and like Fred was going through something, and Flu took him under his wing. So what we do is we transition. We stop the violence. We do intervention, prevention. So some of them gun plays that y'all don't hear about is because these guys in the middle of the night will go to McDougal. Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett, for that. Now, they will be available. I've asked them to make themselves available to any of the news folk that would like to speak with them. I let them tell their own story about what we've been doing and trying to help them do. Mr. Dennis Garrett runs Love and Respect. I don't think he said that, but I'll say it for him, which is a nonprofit organization right down on Angier Avenue. He's been there for years, and he does a great job down there. So they'll be able to tell you that. Now, in addition to my interactions and trying to I call them the reformers. They're really shot callers, though. And they've been able to help us to quell some of the violence. Now, not all violence is gang-related, as y'all would like to say. But they have been working hard since I met them and before. So I was invited to the table. And those who were not invited to the table, you're going to have to ask Judge Pat and the sheriff about that, because I was invited to participate with these young men. And we do have some young ladies, and we appreciate all that they do for Durham. Now, Chairwoman Brenda Howerton and I have reconvened the Durham Crime Cabinet, and some of these young men sit at that seat as well. We held our first meeting in nearly 2 years on March 11th. Members include representatives from the City of Durham, the Durham Police Department, the Durham County Sheriff's Department, the Durham County Criminal Justice Resource Center, the nonprofit community leaders, the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, Durham Public Schools, and most importantly, impacted citizens. The Durham Crime Cabinet is developing a comprehensive strategy to respond to crime and violence in our communities. And we are now really focusing in on housing. We've decided to stay in that space over the next couple of months and really get a deep dive into housing. That's a complex issue, and the Durham Crime Cabinet knows that it is all interconnected. If you do not have a safe place to lay your head, all bets are off for success. So we're going to stay in that space and learn. We are also engaging those, closest to the pain. Y'all remember me saying that? Those closest to the pain got to be closest to the power. They help turn our city around, and that's what we are doing. Also, Chief District Court Judge Pat Evans and I and Chairwoman Brenda Howerton, it seems like Brenda and I are at least talking to each other one day. I believe we're joined at the hip at this point. and Stephanie Williams from Duke University. A couple of weeks ago, we visited the Harrison City in Wilmington, North Carolina. There's an effort being led by their district attorney, Ben David, and the Chief District Court Judge Carpening. I always mispronounce his name. And they are leading this great effort around juvenile justice and what they call a resilience task force. And what they've done is they have they've taken their prison, they have rehabbed it, and they have centralized on a one campus housing in this building over 22 human support services for families in New Hanover County. It was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing. Let me tell you, it was a beautiful thing to see. And so we spent all day down there with them and the different things that they're doing. And as just timing would have it, Chair Howerton and I had already convened a 20-plus member task force to help us develop an alliance system for our community service organizations in our city and county. And so we will hear from them, and the idea is that we will have our workforce development and our young folk who are coming up from school from 4, I think we're looking at ages from like 4 to 24 perhaps, and then we will also have our justice involved in that system as well, and we're hoping to align those systems, those community service organizations, so that our service delivery is better. But we saw it in reality when we went to Wilmington. So these are not pipe dreams. These are things that people are doing. But remember what I said, it's community service organizations. So you have to have your community to help. So that's where we're also going, and that task force will be presenting its work to us within the next few weeks. Now, let's talk about our police department. And first, I just want to give them a round of applause. Where's our chief? Stand up, chief. Stand up, chief. Stand up, chief. Yeah. She's been heavy on my mind this weekend, over the last couple of weeks, and all of our police officers, because they have to go to every one of these scenes. They are our first line. So think about that and what that means to these public service at the truest meaning of its word. And we need to increase the number of highly trained and qualified officers so that they have some help in combating crime. Now, the city has made a concerted effort to reduce vacancies by recruiting and retaining officers. In January, you know, the council voted to increase the pay of police recruits and higher ranked officers, aligning them with nearby municipalities. Other incentives such as a $10,000 signing bonus award and take-home cars are also being offered to attract more applicants. The department has also joined the 30 by 30 national movement to recruit more women to its sworn ranks. The city manager, the police chief, and I, we did a video a couple of weeks to help in that effort. But as our city manager noted the other day when we were talking, she said, we can incentivize, and we have. We can raise the pay, and we have. But remember, Mayor, it takes almost a year to train a police officer before they can go out on the streets in the car alone. It takes almost a year. But we're committed to hiring the best qualified candidates, but we do need applicants to apply. We have to have people to apply. I was at the graduation that we had a couple of weeks ago. There were 7 people who applied and made it all the way through. The year before, 4, I believe, in that class. We have to pay our officers. They must earn enough to live in the city that we serve. Their salaries have to be competitive with neighboring cities around the state, and we've tried to do that. These are often underappreciated and dangerous jobs. We all benefit from their efforts. They must be rewarded for their dedicated service while working to give our police department the support they need to respond to our most dangerous situations. I'm excited that we are continuing to engage around alternative response models for other kinds of calls. Our community safety department is working diligently to bring people together across agencies and neighborhoods to imagine what investments we can make to increase our shared sense of safety and security in Durham. This department is responsible for piloting new approaches to traditional police response, particularly calls involving mental or behavioral health needs, minor traffic incidents, quality of life issues, and calls for general assistance. I'll be following the outcomes, and I invite you to do so as well, of these pilots very closely as we continue to make policy decisions related to community safety and wellness. Durham Tech, one of our greatest community colleges in this nation, not just in Durham, in this nation. We are proud of the work they do to support our city and its residents. In December, just after taking office, I announced a partnership with Durham Tech to establish a 911 training academy to fill the vacant jobs at our 911 center. This first class will start on May 23rd and will have up to 18 students. Durham Tech is a leader in education and job training. We're excited about what this training will mean to the Durham Emergency Communications Center and other area agencies, and to students in search of new career opportunities. This training will also be a valuable training opportunity for newly hired telecommunicator staff, as well as a great tool for recruitment for more staff. Let's turn the page to another chapter. Shared economic prosperity. Wow. Sticky, sticky, sticky. I have been struck by the fact that there are 2 main streets in Durham. I said that during the campaign. It's been going on for years now. On one end of Main Street, you see the high rises, the shops, the amenities that illustrate the leaps towards prosperity that many in Durham have experienced over the last few years, and we're glad of that. Nobody's hating. We're glad of that. We want our city to grow. But on the other end, on the other side of Main Street, you see a community that has not kept up with the prosperity. Main Street, it runs through the heart of Durham. The time has come to stitch that quilt and make Durham equitable for all, everyone, everybody, every family, every child, every man, every woman that calls Durham home needs to share in Durham's prosperity. Now, part of this rebalancing, has to include, let's be real, investing in areas of our city that have been negatively impacted by urban renewal and decades of neglect. The Black community, and thus Durham at large, we've never recovered from the loss of those businesses at Hayti. We've never recovered from that. To that end, the city is supporting a partnership between Hayti Heritage Foundation and the Urban Land Institute on a mission to explore the redevelopment of the Fayetteville Street corridor with a community-centered mindset, community centered mindset, ensuring that the community, what I say, the community, y'all hear community? All right, is involved in both planning and economic participation. Hey, Ty, we'll come back. As Durham continues to grow, we must ensure that our city's prosperity makes it to every corner of Durham. This can only happen if our city remains fiscally responsible and provides a welcoming environment for large and small businesses that produce quality jobs and pays living wages. We must focus on expanding public-private partnerships that benefit our cities and the city, our residents and the city. Sorry about that. Since the pandemic start, the city has partnered with Durham County and Duke University to administer the Opportunity Loan Fund, to lend monies to small businesses, which the pandemic has negatively impacted. Now, the fund comprises of three primary sources of capital: $1 million provided by the city of Durham, $880,000 provided from Durham County, and $1 million provided by Duke University. And they provide grants to impacted small businesses. Now, to date, $860,000 of those dollars have been dispersed to 38 businesses, 29 of those minority-owned. There are $140,000 of city funds and $800,000 of county funds remaining. Y'all hear that? In this Opportunity Fund to provide low-cost financing via loans of $5,000 to $35,000 to eligible businesses. Effective tonight, the City Council will be voting to modify the criteria to allow more businesses to access these loan funds. Now, if you are a Durham business owner and your business has been affected by the pandemic, I encourage you to contact the Carolina Small Business Development Fund. There is help. I also want to say a brief word about the over $50 million the city will receive in American Rescue Plan funds. In addition to offsetting revenue losses resulting from the pandemic, these funds can be used to address other community needs. Durham is taking an ongoing approach to the American Rescue Plan implementation that will continue to adapt based on community, stakeholder, and council feedback. Ongoing engagement, review, allocation, and evaluation will occur for the entire life cycle of this federal funding. The City Council will soon be meeting to discuss the first round of eligible proposals submitted by Durham community members. Proposals that we receive encompass community resiliency, economic equity, health and wellness, safe and stable housing. It's time to do something bold, everybody, and impactful with these funds. So I'm looking forward to this upcoming discussion among my council colleagues. We are also hoping to partner with our county commissioners who also receive funds to make some transformative changes so that 50 years from now, the next generation down, the next generation after that, you will be able to look and say, that's what we did with those funds here in Durham. It will, I hope, outlive everybody that's in this room tonight and watching us by internet. Those are the kinds of transformative actions that we're looking to do. Of all the work of the shared economic prosperity, the city youth engagement work gives me the most hope for our young people. Let me tell you, as of last week, y'all, we had over 1,500 youth between the ages of 14 to 24 have submitted their interest applications for Durham Youth Works program. The Durham Youth Works allows our young people to develop critical skills and explore career opportunities through paid summer internships. This number represents the largest number of interest applications received by the program in recent history. More than 77% of those who have submitted interest applications are between the ages of 14 and 17. These increased numbers demonstrate that the community's need is great and the youth of Durham are eager to step up to meet the challenge. But we need businesses. We need businesses. We need businesses that will help these young people to find summer employment and an opportunity to learn skills that can translate to a career path. My first jobs were with the city as a teenager. I worked for the Fun Caravan, I worked as a tennis court attendant, and then I worked as an assistant at the law library at my law school, which I later became dean of, interim dean. Okay, look at that. I am that kid that needed that summer job. So businesses, please, 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 we have 1,500 who are waiting. We want to employ each and every last one of them this summer. Let's shift gears. I gotta move fast, so y'all won't be in here all night long looking at me like, when she gonna finish? Let's talk about affordable housing. Yes, a bugaboo. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You know, we have to continue efforts to provide affordable housing. We can never stop. You all know what the divide looks like now. We all see it every day. Our city's community development department is deepening its work with the Durham Housing Authority and many other parties to address the urgency of now. We have an urgent need now, right now, for safe, inclusive, and affordable housing. We have to build new residential units. We have to upgrade rental properties. And we have to provide some innovative ideas in that space. Now, over the last year, the city of Durham committed almost $6.5 million in funding received from the federal government to support the Durham Emergency Rental Assistance Program. 550 households who were behind in their rents and facing evictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic received financial help to stay in their homes through this partnership between the City of Durham, the Durham County Department of Social Services, and Legal Aid of North Carolina. The work we have already done has been significant, but we must begin to take a hard look at innovative approaches and not just continue to do business as usual. We need to be bold and innovative in addressing our housing crisis. Tonight, I am asking my fellow council colleagues to be bold and let us consider purchasing property that can become affordable housing for teachers, police officers, our firefighters, our city employees, and others across the city. If private companies can buy properties, why can't the City of Durham do the same and provide affordable housing to its residents? I'm asking y'all to think about it. Think about it. We have to be innovative in that space. Let's talk about infrastructure. We must maintain and strengthen our public infrastructure. Sidewalks, water, sewer, streets, transportation, trails, and parks. And remember what I said about our water area. You can't beat our water. Stop buying those water bottles all the time. Use our water. Use our water. We need new and innovative transportation ideas. We need energy-efficient buses that serve all of our communities from downtown to the developing neighborhoods where many residents live without cars. We need to take a hard look at a commuter rail system. But there must be accountability. and transparency in how we are using the funds for these projects. Chairwoman Howerton and I, and all those who are involved on the transportation, in that transportation space, we're working really hard to make sure that that happens. We are committed to developing an equitable public transportation system that not only will serve a few, but provides much needed access to schools, grocery stores, doctors, employers, and more. We have to. Over the last year, one of the most exciting developments has been the passage of the federal bipartisan infrastructure law that will allow the city to compete for critical investments in transportation, climate, energy, and environment, and broadband, and cyber infrastructure. Can I tell you, I've been learning a lot, y'all, since I started this here job. I've been learning a lot. And in response, our administration, when I tell you they're great, they put together, they've assembled a cross-departmental team, right, led by our city manager's office to set our priorities and identify and apply and track progress towards capitalizing on this once-in-a-generation funding, because a lot of this is competitive money. You have to write the grants. It's competitive with folks all across the nation. But our transportation department is bad to the bone. This morning, I held the biggest check in my life. Did y'all see it on the news? For $19.8 million because of the folk in the transportation department that wrote those loans, that wrote that, okay? So we have gotten almost $20 million so far, right? We have a $9 million award and raised grants for the 1.76 mile long multi-use trail. It's on an abandoned Norfolk and Southern rail line. And so that's going to connect our pedestrians and cyclists along a route from North Durham to downtown. Then we had $10.8 million award to renovate and upgrade our Durham transportation system to improve safety and add some much needed amenities. So, and check this out. This month, we are also applying for another $20 million for transit and pedestrian safety improvements to the Holloway Street corridor. Now, that's one of the most traveled in the city, right? So staff in our General Services Department are currently evaluating federal funding coming in fall 2022 and the numerous programs to help fund the expansion of electric vehicle infrastructure, because electric vehicles are coming. We have 2 electric buses in our fleet already. They're coming, and we're gonna be ready. So I'm grateful again to our city departments for their work to position Durham to receive these federal dollars. Now let's pivot to public health and COVID-19. Now, everybody in here, we all are blessed to be in this space tonight. A lot of people didn't make it, but we are here. Over the last 2 years, we have lived through a worldwide pandemic, and it's had a tremendous impact on all of our lives. We will never go back to what we were before, never. The good news is transmission rates have steadily been decreasing until I got a text from maybe Miss Jillian tonight, and we may finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. However, we can't take our progress for granted. We must continually remain vigilant, follow the guidance of our local health experts, and make informed decisions. I want to thank the director of our public health department, Rod Jenkins, and his staff at the Durham County Department of Public Health, the leadership at Duke University Health System for their steadfast leadership and for helping this city, our city, the city of Madison, make these science-based decisions regarding public health safety. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the 300 Durham residents who lost their lives during the COVID-19 pandemic. They were an integral part of our community, and their presence cannot be replaced. My thoughts and prayers of comfort will continue to be with their loved ones and friends. And once again, I ask you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Durham, the Bull City, we are an inclusive and welcoming city. We're different, and we don't mind being different in the Bull City. From all the other cities in the state of North Carolina, we are different. And we're different probably from most cities in the United States of America. And we don't mind being different. That's who we are. And you know, a lot of it has to do with our diversity. We like that word here in Durham. We must continue to make sure that everyone's rights are respected. The growing Latinx population, the Asian population, our immigrant and refugee community, our LGBTQ community are vital. They're vital to the growth of this city. And we must make Durham a safe and supportive place for everyone. For everyone. There are many issues of deep concern to be addressed, and we must commit to tackling them all. They are not insurmountable, no matter how they may look. As Durham pieces together the scraps of who we are and what we bring to the quilting frame, we will begin to see that quilt take shape. I am determined to continue to do my part to make our city better, and I ask each Durham resident to do their part. No one person can do it alone, no one city council, no one county commissioner. Please, we need your help. Make it your mission to find a place at the quilting frame to help. There are so many ways to find your place in that frame. The city of Durham alone has nearly 30 boards, committees, and commissions that you can participate in. Each board directly advises the city council on a multitude of topics that affect our great city, from affordable housing, bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, and open spaces to community safety. Over 240 of our neighbors have already answered the call and are serving every month. I would encourage each of you to visit our city clerk's office webpage to review and view the current vacancies and apply. Come and help. Stipends are available, got a little money, to ensure equitable compensation for board members' time and expertise. Tonight, in all seriousness, I make the call for everyone to commit to 5 hours of community service if you are a resident of Durham and you're able. Here are some suggestions to get you started. First, join your neighborhood Partners Against Crime, or PAC. Join your PAC organization. There are 5 PACs across the city. If you are a Durham resident, you are a member of a PAC. Locate your PAC and attend your monthly meeting. You'll meet your neighbors, and you'll hear from Durhamites across the city who are dedicated to making Durham safe for all. The Partners of PAC program promotes collaboration among police officers, the sheriff's department, Durham residents, the courts even visit, the city and county government officials to find sustainable solutions to community problems, crime problems, and quality of life issues. It is a community-based volunteer organization that promotes and executes safety strategies to prevent crime at your neighborhood level. There is a PAC that's already working in your neighborhood on your behalf. Each of the Durham Police Department's 5 police districts, they have a PAC organization that holds PAC monthly meetings, right? So the police department is intertwined there. They have been doing this for years. They have purchased bicycles for 2 of the police department's bicycle squads. They have provided translation equipment to our Spanish-speaking residents can attend meetings. They have digital speed trailers to help with neighborhood speed enforcement. And they have even purchased motion detectors for our elderly residents. Our PACs are good, but they need your help. They recently purchased playground equipment to replace what was destroyed by vandalism. They have also worked to eliminate dilapidated housing in their neighborhoods. They are the perfect way to get to know those in your neighborhood and tackle the quality of life issues that are important to each of us. Number 2, you can attend a community safety and wellness task force. There you're gonna meet some local leaders and learn more about how people in our city dedicate their time to serving all of our residents. The next meetings are May 11th and June 8th at 6 p.m. Find any local organization, especially where our youth are involved. Zoom has provided a great way for you to read to a class, offer a tour of a local museum through a video, a volunteer tab in school, 2 to 3 hours a week. Go to a food pantry. Have some school supply drives, neighborhood cleanup and beautification, coding brigades, libraries, literacy and youth organizations, the gun violence prevention group. Can you just do something? Will you please? Can you just do something? The list goes on. And bring a friend, or 2, or 10, so we can grow the network and begin to coordinate together. You've heard my call to volunteerism. Dr. Martin Luther King said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? I deliver that call again. Step out of those circles in the communities that you're familiar with. Find yourself in service to others in our city. Durham is rich with nonprofits and community organizations that can help you find your fit. Deliver meals, encourage our elderly neighbors, pick up trash and litter on our streets. And speaking of trash, I believe a safe city begins with a clean city. And I want to spotlight Keep Durham Beautiful. That's a nonprofit working in partnership with the City of Durham's General Services Department and Durham County. Once again, Brenda and I are tied at the hip, to help residents act on litter prevention, recycling, and waste reduction, beautification, and community greening. Keep Durham Beautiful. They have several activities each year. They host them. Families, friends, church groups, and even businesses can volunteer for community litter cleanups, creek and river cleanups, tree plantings and community greening, and other environmental activities. This year, let's all deepen our engagement with them. Remember, our only way up is together. The last thing that I will mention before ending my first State of the City is the one thing, maybe 2 things, that we should all be capable of doing. And that is being kind and respectful. I am going to have a kindness proclamation for the month of June. And each month thereafter, I hope to promote a virtue. We're going to call it Bull City Kindness. And I just want to give you this example of what I mean by Bull City Kindness. As I was coming to City Hall last week, I was stopped at the stoplight of Blackwell and Jackie Robinson Parkway, and that's right where the Durham Bulls entrance is. And I was heading towards City Hall down Blackwell. And there's normally a homeless person that stands right on that corner every day. And I looked out of my side eye, and I saw a car pull over to the side. They were making the right to go on to Blackwell. And the driver, I saw him lean over, and they jumped out. It's a young black man. He left the door wide open, and he ran across, he literally ran across the street to hand that man some money. That is Bull City kindness. It's time for us to care more about each other. We have to see each other. We have to want the best for each other. We are the Bull City. We can become the quilt covering the city. We all love by working together. Let us all continue to work together to ensure that Durham is a city for everyone, united. I'm pleased to say tonight that the state of the Bull City is strong and getting stronger. Thank you. God bless you all. May Jesus bless all of us.